Coming up on Chapman News, a major victory in the fight against COVID. The CDC says fully vaccinated people don't need to wear masks indoors. What does that mean for you?
And the worst violence in almost a decade. The escalating conflict in the Middle East will have local reaction.
India still battling the worst COVID outbreak yet. We'll tell you about the triple mutant variant. Could it affect us?
And in our final newscast of the semester, Chapman News seniors take time to reflect on their experiences. All that and more coming up this week on Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon, I'm Jasmine Sani.
And I'm Jackie Gold. A major development in the pandemic this week as the CDC says those who are fully vaccinated don't have to wear a mask indoors.
President Biden is calling this a great day for America. The new CDC guidance comes as welcome news to many Americans, but it has a catch. Vaccinated or not, you'll still have to wear a mask and social distance when at the doctors, hospitals, or long-term care facilities. Masks are also still required when traveling by bus, plane, or train and other public transportation. Finally, the mandate remains in congregate settings like homeless shelters, prisons, and jails. The move provides another incentive to many Americans who are still hesitant about getting the vaccine.
Vaccines for adolescents, mask mandates being lifted, and loosening restrictions. Just today, Chapman announcing that people no longer have to wear masks outdoors on campus. All signs that a COVID-free future may be just around the corner. Michael Benifta has our update.
This week, the FDA and CDC approved the Pfizer vaccines for teenagers ages 12 to 15. The Biden administration says they'll distribute millions of vaccines to pharmacies and pediatric offices to start vaccinating adolescents. Trials for Moderna and Johnson & Johnson in adolescents are still underway. However, Chapman's own Dr. Jerica Lamb believes getting younger kids vaccinated is even more crucial.
If we can actually look at the other vulnerable cohort, which are the younger children, and get them vaccinated, they can actually feel safer to go outside, be at summer camp, be at playgrounds, meeting up with friends, those things.
Increased vaccinations have led to looser guidelines, especially related to masks. The CDC released guidelines yesterday to ease mask wearing for those vaccinated indoors, after the CDC announced last month that vaccinated people can do certain activities outdoors without them. Experts have been debating how loose the guidelines should be, with some criticizing the new rules were unclear. Dr. Lamb agrees with the CDC's plans.
Changing the mask mandate is not anything novel. It's not new. It is a reflection of what we understand right now compared to a year ago.
Speaking of loosening restrictions, California is doing just that as it moves towards its full June 15th reopening, including ending the mask mandate and potentially herd immunity by late July if vaccination rates keep up, according to health officials. Orange County is on track to hit marks and enter the yellow tier, the least restrictive tier, by May 19th, joining LA and San Francisco counties. Dr. Lamb sees a lot of hope in this move.
What we've already noticed is that if we're vaccinated, we have more confidence that we're safe and protected, so therefore we can return back to normal.
Though California was once the hardest hit state, it now has one of the lowest COVID rates in the country. At the same time, protesters lined up in OC this week against the implementation of voluntary vaccine passports, a sign of people's exhaustion with continuing COVID restrictions. Still, health officials see a way out, with Dr. Anthony Fauci saying next year might see the U.S. as close to normal as can be. For Chapman News, I'm Michael Benifta.
Tensions have been rising all week in the Middle East. Now we're seeing the worst violence in at least 7 years in Israel. This morning, thousands of Palestinians fled their homes on the Gaza Strip as Israel barraged the area with airstrikes. As of today, 122 people have been killed in Gaza and 900 more injured. On the other hand, 7 Israelis have been killed and 523 injured. This week, I had conversations with people on both sides of the conflict to get a more local look. Just as a warning, some of the video you're about to see may be hard to watch. The worst violence in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in years. Burning places of worship, mobs beating people in the streets, and even public lynchings. For everyday citizens, fear is at an all-time high. Lidor Levin is a student at the University of Haifa in central Israel. She told me about her drive home from school last night and how it turned into a near-death experience.
I had fear when I started the drive, but I never ever imagined that that would be the night that I'm gonna have.
When Lidor was about halfway home, she heard sirens going off as a warning to find shelter. She pulled over on the highway, and her only option for safety was to lay down on the asphalt for cover.
I have never lay down on a highway to and trying to protect myself from so many things at once.
As Lidor was staying low, a car of Arab men drove by and shouted something that shook her to the core.
Idbach el Yahud, Allahu Akbar, which means kill all the Jews.
Nevertheless, she made it home safe, but had to take cover again around 3 a.m. It was then that a bomb hit a house nearby, only heightening Lidor's stress. Was there a moment that you feared for your life?
Yes, of course.
And that same fear goes for Palestinians. I spoke with a Palestinian American who chose to remain anonymous out of concern over being blacklisted by Israeli groups.
As a Palestinian, I can't afford the privilege of having my name blacklisted because that means I can't go home and I can't visit my family.
They told me what it's like watching their family in Jerusalem and Gaza live in fear.
I'm Palestinian. I have family in Palestine. My friends are Palestinian. We're all seeing what's happening. I wake up every single morning, and the first thing I see when I check my phone is videos of Gaza being bombed.
Tensions have been rising on a local level in Israel as Palestinians are being evicted from their homes in an East Jerusalem area called Sheikh Jarrah. About 300 Palestinians were injured during clashes with Israeli police, who fired stun grenades, tear gas, and rubber bullets at Palestinian protesters. The airstrike started on Monday night when Hamas, a Palestinian fundamentalist movement, launched rockets towards Israel from Gaza, and from there, the fighting only intensified. By Tuesday, a 14-story building on the Gaza Strip was demolished by Israeli missiles. Since then, 2 other apartment buildings have been destroyed. When the sun came up the next day, Israel was already firing dozens of airstrikes on the Gaza Strip that targeted police and security installations, killing as many as 10 senior Hamas military figures. About 90% of the rockets that Hamas has fired have been intercepted by Israel's robust defense technology, called the Iron Dome, that is specifically built to protect against these kind of attacks.
The Iron Dome system has been delivering and has saved countless Israeli lives, but at the end of the day, the rocket fire that we saw towards central Israel, towards Tel Aviv, and really the heart of Israel, is of course totally unacceptable, something that the IDF will not stand for.
Israel's biggest supporter, the U.S., says it has one focus: de-escalation. On Wednesday, President Biden justified Israel's actions.
Israel has a right to defend itself when you have thousands of rockets flying into your territory, but I had a conversation for a while with the Prime Minister of Israel, and I think that my hope is that we'll see this coming to conclusion sooner than later.
Despite calls for de-escalation, the UN now warns the fighting could turn into a full-scale war. And the fighting still continues today, with Israel rejecting ceasefire efforts. Still, Lidor and the anonymous Palestinian I spoke with both remain safe.
The gas is slowly coming back to the biggest pipeline in North America after a cyber attack caused a nationwide shutdown. The New York Times is reporting the pipeline paid nearly $5 million to the hackers. Still, gas stations are running out of fuel up and down the East Coast. And if you can find gas, it's selling at record prices. And it's not just limited to the East Coast and the South. Here in SoCal, we're seeing gas prices skyrocket. Stephanie Parajan has more.
Panicked drivers who stocked up on gas have created a shortage throughout the South. In North Carolina, nearly 10% of gas stations are without gasoline. Governor Roy Cooper declared a state of emergency on Monday.
The shortages that we're seeing are pretty much solely related to panic buying from people, and I want to encourage people not to do that.
Eric Parajan, a North Carolina resident, watched as people were hoarding gas.
So I saw, people filling up their jet skis, people filling up those little kind of canisters of gas, people filling up like boats and stuff like that. So yeah, I think a lot of panic buying. And then when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna try and participate in this.
The Colonial Pipeline stretches over 5,000 miles from Texas to New Jersey. The cyber attack occurred on Friday. President Biden signed an executive order to strengthen U.S. cybersecurity defenses on Wednesday. The FBI confirms that the hacking group DarkSide was behind the attack. They're also looking into ties to other nation states.
So far, there is no evidence based on from our intelligence people that Russia is involved, though there's evidence that the actors' ransomware is in Russia. They have some responsibility to deal with this.
The cyber attacks are not just limited to East Coast, it's also affecting the West Coast. Southern California is already experiencing higher gas prices. Airlines and airports are also struggling to fuel their jets. American Airlines is adding stops to their longer flights to refuel their planes. Southwest Airlines is stocking their planes with extra fuel to bring aid to airports affected most by the fuel shortage. This is Stephanie Perjean for Chapman News.
As Stephanie mentioned, SoCal is definitely feeling the effects of the pipeline shutdown. Gas prices continue to climb higher and higher. This time last year, a gallon of gas cost $2.85 on average. Today, it costs $4.15. That price marks the 18th consecutive day the cost has been rising here in SoCal. Experts attribute this to less supply and more demand.
A major show of support for Donald Trump as Republicans ousted Representative Liz Cheney from her position as the third highest-ranking member of the Republican Party, all because she refuses to endorse Trump's election fraud claims. Cheney was removed from her post in a closed-doors vote on Wednesday, one that lasted only 15 minutes. This move signifies a party that's come to be defined by how loyal they are to an impeached president.
Remaining silent and ignoring the lie emboldens the liar. I will not sit back and watch in silence while others lead our party down a path that abandons the rule of law and joins the former president's crusade to undermine our democracy.
Yet some Republicans still support Cheney, Larry Hogan and Adam Kinzinger, to name a few. But the inner tension between the Republican Party suggests a turning point for its faith in democracy.
Republicans are seeking to perpetrate and act upon the big lie that the election was stolen, simply to placate, maybe please, the most dishonest president in American history. Liz Cheney spoke truth to power, and for that, she is being fired.
However, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is defending the vote, saying it's not related to the 2020 election.
This has nothing to do about how somebody voted. This has nothing to do about they voted for impeachment or not.
Receiving Trump's backing, New York Representative Elise Stefanik replaced Cheney's spot this morning by a 134-46 vote. Despite the ouster, Cheney says the criticism won't stop her.
I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office.
California Governor Gavin Newsom promising a $100 billion economic relief plan that will expand the Golden State stimulus program.
With more details on the economic plan and other political updates is Barbara Fox.
Thanks, Jackie. Newsom's new economic relief plan will provide another round of stimulus checks to help with rent relief for Californians.
Today, we're announcing $12 billion tax rebate to the people of the state of California earning up to $75,000.
But many are questioning, how will the state pay for this? The proposed California Comeback Plan would be funded using a $75 billion budget surplus, and the remaining $25 billion will come from the federal government. Families that make under $75,000 annually will receive a one-time $600 check, and if you have children, you'll receive another one-time check amounting to $500. The governor emphasizes that the economic relief is crucial to bringing back the economy and helping families.
That tax rebate will impact just shy of 80% of all tax filers will get a direct stimulus check, will get a direct relief payment.
Also, Newsom has been getting backlash from his Republican opponents for not combating the homeless crisis in California. So I'm not surprised he proposed a $12 billion bill on Tuesday to get more people experiencing homelessness into housing. Newsom hopes to functionally end family homelessness within 5 years. Although some say Newsom is pulling all the stops to gather support for the recall election, many of his Republican opponents, like John Cox, are disagreeing with the economic plan.
Giving money out on a one-time shot, it's going to help a little bit, but you know what? Let's get people jobs.
More news in Washington this week as the Biden administration works to cut transgender inequality in the healthcare system, reversing a Trump-era policy. The change will force healthcare providers and other healthcare-related organizations who receive federal funding from discriminating based on someone's gender identity or sexual orientation. However, in the last year alone, over 10 states are enacting or in the process of enacting anti-trans medical care and not allowing transgender people to play on teams they identify with. Many of the laws having to do with not allowing children to transition and refusing treatment to people that identify as transgender for religious reasons. Another Republican-run state may have new voting restrictions in the coming weeks. Texas proposing new laws that require longer hours for poll watchers and making it illegal to receive a vote-by-mail application if not requested. Unsurprisingly, the reform is getting pushed back by Democrats, saying it's, quote, suppressing votes. Brett Hurt, a Texas activist against the proposed bill, told MSNBC News that Texas ranks 45 in voter turnout.
We should be talking about increasing the right to vote and making sure that all of our citizens' voices are heard.
Despite public outcry, Republicans disagree.
What this bill seeks to do is to make them safer and more secure.
The bill made its way through the House last week, and later the governor, Greg Abbott, was quick to write on Twitter, quote, "One step closer to my desk, making it Texas law." We'll have to wait and see if it will pass the state Senate. And for one last time, thanks for tuning into the political updates for the week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next semester. I'm Barbara Fox. Back to you, Jackie.
Thanks, Barbara. About half of California's residents have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, paving the way to reopening on June 15th. While experts say that number needs to reach around 85% to achieve herd immunity, California's vaccination rates are rising quickly, with many sites now offering walk-up shots. Here in Orange County, 38.5% of the population is fully vaccinated.
Coming up, sobering news on the economy. Despite a lack of jobs, unemployment benefits are going away. We'll have the details.
And California is back in a drought. More on that and your 7-day forecast after the break.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So, yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
While the U.S. has reached a milestone in fighting the pandemic, overseas many countries are still struggling. India facing a tragic COVID outbreak, leaving thousands dead, nationwide oxygen shortages, and barely any hospital beds. The World Health Organization now classifies the COVID-19 variant in India as a triple mutant. Our international producer Melissa Cho tells us more about the variant that is more infectious than ever.
A week ago, many health experts were concerned about the COVID-19 double mutant rapidly spreading in India. But this week, the variant now reached a triple mutant status.
And as such, we are classifying this as a variant of concern at the global level.
The variant, known as B1617, has been reported in preliminary studies to be more contagious and more prone to evade the immune system. And proof of its increased transmissibility is already there, neighboring nations reporting this mutation to appear on their own soil.
What I'm also hearing from my Singaporean friends is that it's already in Singapore and in parts of Southeast Asia. Because again, we are a macrocosm, not a microcosm.
The WHO still clarified on Monday that existing COVID-19 vaccines still remain effective at preventing severe illness and death from this specific variant. The organization also announcing that more testing will be required in order to collect further information on this new strain. The CDC has not reported the triple mutant to appear in the US, and hopefully it stays that way. Reporting from Taipei, I'm Melissa Cho for Chapman News.
If you're looking to help the crisis in India, a restaurant in Anaheim is donating 100% of its sales this week to COVID relief efforts. The chefs at Adya Indian Restaurant have family and friends there and are looking to help in any way they can. The fundraising has been going on all week. And Sunday is the last day to support the cause through Adya. The restaurant is located at 440 South Anaheim Boulevard at the Anaheim Packing District, just 12 minutes away from campus.
As inflation rises to over 4%, the highest rate since 2008, some states are choosing to take away extra unemployment benefits. Here's Natalie Tasha Thompson with the story.
States across the country are quickly cutting unemployment benefits, leaving thousands of families helpless. This despite unemployment levels remaining high and millions still struggling to make ends meet. On Monday, President Biden urged out-of-work Americans to accept the jobs they might be offered and warned they would lose unemployment benefits if they don't.
There are a few COVID-19 related exceptions, so that people aren't forced to choose between their basic safety and a paycheck. But otherwise, that's the law.
Parents are struggling to juggle working with their child's school schedule as many states have not returned to fully in-person learning. Many parents cannot leave home to find a job and rely on the extra unemployment benefits each week.
And we want to make sure everyone is able to go back to work. We want everyone to be able to pay their rent or their mortgage, feed their families, not have to stop at the food line on the way home from work.
Despite over 200,000 jobs added in April, well under the expected 1 million according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, there is a lack of movement in the job market with speculation that the extra $300 per week of benefits is to blame.
It's time that we end these programs that have incentivized people to stay out of the workforce. This is an important step towards returning to normalcy and strengthening our economy.
South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama are among 9 states who have announced that they will be ending participation in COVID-related unemployment assistance programs. According to Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, nothing in the data shows that enhanced unemployment checks are the reason people are out of work.
This unemployment insurance has been a lifeline, a survival, lifeline for so many Americans. The number one reason now that people aren't going back to work is fear. Or they can't find childcare or schools are still closed.
I'm Natalie Tasha Thompson, reporting for Chapman News.
COVID-19 has disrupted many of life's major events. For example, planning a wedding is supposed to be one of the happiest times in a couple's life. But COVID-era couples are facing unprecedented challenges. Ariana Benitez has more.
Many of us grow up dreaming about our wedding day, but none of us could have ever imagined the reality that couples getting married in 2020 would face. No family, no friends, and certainly no buffet. During the pandemic, marriage licenses plummeted overall, especially during high COVID months. Some experts attribute this decrease to rising unemployment numbers and a lack of financial stability. The ever-changing COVID restrictions have forced many brides to postpone their big day. The Institute for Family Studies now reports that 7% of unmarried couples are canceling their weddings. Despite all the COVID cancellations, some couples like Nivea and Ian Vasquez are finding ways to modify their dream wedding in order to follow COVID restrictions.
We just wanted to get it done. It doesn't matter what we needed to go through. We just wanted to do it, and our love prevailed, so we went for it. And thank God we succeeded.
Their destination wedding took place at a local restaurant in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and was broadcast over Zoom for out-of-town guests.
Definitely following the health and safety protocols, keeping the capacity at a minimum, and just making sure everyone then followed through throughout the ceremony all the protocols and guidelines that were in place.
This year, a group of Chapman filmmakers created Lovesick, a film that highlights the lives and struggles of couples during the pandemic. The filmmakers explained they've noticed that COVID-19 has forced many couples to rush into commitment.
It was literally a month to engagement. Like in the film, they were like 2 weeks after the first date, they were dating. 2 weeks after that, they got engaged. Like that's how they tell it for the timeline.
The documentarians believe that once COVID-19 is over, couples will start to face strain after many rushed into their relationships. Yet they remain hopeful that many will stay together and happily in love after quarantine. For Chapman News, this is Ariana Benitez.
Other major life events have been drastically altered by the pandemic too. Aaron Coogan has a look at how graduation ceremonies have adjusted to COVID-19.
I declare you this 15th day of June 2019, graduates of Batley High School. Congratulations.
A celebration of growth, an acknowledgement of accomplishment, maybe a sigh of relief. However you describe graduation, the sentiment remains the same. From preschool to middle school, high school, and now college, graduation celebrations have divided our schooling careers into significant milestones we share with friends and family. Some may consider graduation a mere formality, as most ceremonies feature a standard cap and gown, cheesy music, and fake smiles. However, for the class of 2020 and 2021, graduation has been anything but predictable. Whether it be by couch or by car, over call, or completely canceled, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced educators, parents, and students alike to reimagine what graduation could look like.
I only wanted to do commencement if it was a traditional commencement where you walked across the stage and got your diplomas. I definitely had my feelings about virtual commencement and drive-bys last year, so I'm just really thankful that Chapman took the steps to have us have a traditional commencement.
Smaller universities like Chapman have opted to push back commencement ceremonies and offer limited capacity and socially distanced seating in outdoor venues. Larger schools unable to provide that opportunity have had to cancel their in-person celebrations altogether. There's no doubt that graduation celebrations are going to look different this year and possibly for years to come. But one thing will never change. The accomplishment of completing any stage of education, no matter how or if it is celebrated, is a victory. It deserves to be celebrated, and not even a global pandemic can take away that achievement. For Chapman News, I'm Aaron Coogan.
California is experiencing an extreme drought. Governor Newsom declaring a drought emergency for 41 counties this past Monday. The governor explained that snowfall in the mountains was so sparse this year that all of the snowmelt was absorbed by the dry mountainsides. This has reduced the state's water supply by 500,000 acre-feet, enough water to supply 1 million households for a year. Of the 41 counties, almost none of them are in Southern California, as SoCal gets its water from federal water systems, pulling from other states that have experienced more rainfall in the past year. Here at the Weather Wall, to give us a look at our local weather forecast is Brennan Corrigan.
I hear we have a cooler week coming up ahead. Is that true, Brennan?
That's right, guys. It's cooling down here in SoCal. Right now, it's a nice 67 degrees in Orange. Might need a light sweater as you head out today, and we're going to go ahead and look at our national forecast. Over here in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle sitting at 75 degrees. Moving down the coast to San Francisco, pretty cool, sitting at 60 degrees. Over here in Las Vegas, Nevada, heating up quite a bit, 99 degrees there. Moving over to Denver, Colorado, 73 degrees. Down here in Austin, Texas, hot as well at 81 degrees. Let's move over to the Midwest and the East Coast here. Minneapolis sitting at 63 degrees. Chicago sitting at 66 degrees. Atlanta, Georgia sitting at 71 degrees, Miami at 84, and then New York and Washington, D.C. sitting at 70 degrees and 65 degrees, respectively. Pretty cool over there on the East Coast. Now moving on to our Orange County forecast here, 69 degrees in Westminster, 74 degrees here in Orange, 68 degrees in Newport Beach, and Irvine, Mission Viejo, and Laguna Beach, all hovering around that 70 to 71 temperature mark there, and then San Clemente down here, 67 degrees. Moving on now to our orange 7-day forecast. Today we're looking at 76 degrees for a high, 59 for a low, partly cloudy here this weekend and headed into next week, 71 degrees on Saturday, and Sunday cooling down quite a bit at 65 degrees, and then early next week still hovering around that 71 to 74 degree temperature mark, partly cloudy, all with a low of 58 degrees. That's your forecast for the week. I'm Brennan Corrigan, back to you at the desk.
Coming up, Ellen is ending. A look at her career and more in the entertainment world.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham-bam minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
In the world of sports, it looks like horses are just as susceptible to doping as athletes are. Kentucky Derby winner Medina Spirit tested positive for an illegal drug in a post-race test. If another one comes back positive later this month, the horse will be stripped of its victory. Still, there are a lot of naysayers about stripping the horse of its title. With many more in the human sports world is Aaron Coogan. Aaron?
Thanks, Jackie. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron Coogan, here for the last time to give you the rundown on all things sports. Well, it's that time of year again. SCIAC championships, NCAA championships, team selections. Someone pinch me because this is the dream. Let's kick it off with some softball. Mike with the strike. Take a look at this. Who can handle the heat? Up ball? No. Curveball? No. What about a fatty down the middle? Let me help you out. No. Michaela Tokunaga with a big-time shutout against Redlands in the last regular season start of her career. She takes the title of Chapman Athlete of the Week, SCIAC Pitcher of the Week, and concludes the regular season with the lowest ERA in the conference. Moving right along to Chapman Track and Field in the SCIAC Championships. Maddie Miro taking no time to separate herself in the women's 1500. Listen, people, this is the best of the best. And take a look at this. Where's her competition? We may never know. She takes the conference dub on this one with an insane time of 4:43 and also leads the Chapman podium sweep in the women's 800 meter. And Big Bad Zeisler putting in the work against Redlands this weekend. Check it out. Bottom of the first, inside ball gonna come in, jam shot, shallow flare to center field, can't make a play there. First run of the game crosses, Zeisler safe at first, and then, does someone say deja vu? Bottom of the third, runners on first and third. They're gonna try away this time. Take a look at this pitch. Away, takes another bouncing ball just out of the reach of a crashing Peyton Walsh. Another run scores. Zeisler leads the conference with a .462 batting average. Chapman takes this one 12-5. And the fun doesn't stop there. Chapman softball hosting the opening round of the SCIAC Championship Tournament today. First pitch against Laverne going down 2 p.m. at El Camino Field. And baseball kicks off its last regular season series today at Cal Lutheran. A series sweep this weekend would put Chapman in the #1 spot in the SCIAC standings. And the Women's Golf Championship kicked off at Forest Acres Golf Course in Lansing, Michigan on Tuesday. This will finish up today, and freshman Kayla Higgins competing as the 9th-ranked female golfer in the nation. After 2 days of play, she's currently 21 over par and in an 8-way tie for the 50th slot in the tournament. She'll finish up her last round today, and we reached out to Kayla to see how she was feeling about playing in the national tournament, and she said, quote, "I was so excited for the opportunity to come to Michigan and represent Chapman. I'm so thankful for the support from both my coaches and my teammates as they've made this experience so much better." Congratulations on qualifying for the tournament, Kayla.
26 seconds. Shot clock down to 8. Here's Horton Tucker, three-pointer on its way. It's good! Taylon Horton Tucker!
There's just something about an overtime game-winning three that gets me so hyped for postseason play. All the big moments coming at you soon. The NBA playoffs are set to kick off Saturday, May 22nd. However, before that happens, there'll be a play-in tournament for the last 4 positional seeds of the East and West conferences. The play-in tournament will run from May 18th to the 21st, but how does it all work? Let's break it down. At the end of the regular season play, the 7th and 8th ranked teams will compete against the 9th and 10th seeded teams to determine who will claim the final 2 spots in the postseason tournament. Now, many of the NBA's top players whose teams are in danger of slipping into these play-in games have expressed frustration towards this new format. Lakers forward LeBron James tweeting, quote, "Whoever came up with the tournament idea needs to be fired." The regular season comes to a close at the end of this weekend, and as it looks now, the Lakers will fall into those bottom slots and have to compete for a spot in the postseason tournament. Well, that's all I have this week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Best Campus Sports Show. I'm Erin Coogan, and back to you, Jasmine.
Thanks, Erin. Ellen DeGeneres is planning on ending her show in 2022. The host says she needs something new to challenge her. After more than 3,000 episodes, the talk show will end after this season. This comes after Ellen has been accused of fostering a toxic workplace and treating her staff poorly. The show is currently in its 18th season and has, in total, won 64 Daytime Emmy Awards.
Jasmine, can you imagine doing 3,000 episodes of Chapman News?
Jackie, I feel like we've already hit that mark. With more news and entertainment world is Nick Ratton. Nick?
Thanks, Jasmine. The entertainment world is always buzzing, and once again, the Golden Globes is up in flames for its lack of diversity initiatives. Amid the criticism, NBC announced that it would not be airing the 2022 Golden Globes, while studios like Amazon and Netflix have decided to cut ties with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, or the HFPA. Even Tom Cruise returned his 3 Golden Globes in protest. There has been an outcry for more diversity within the HFPA since the LA Times investigative report a few months back. The group voted last week to initiate new policies to better their diversity and inclusion, but the reforms have been facing backlash for, quote, sorely lacking and being hardly transformational. The president of the Time's Up organization, Tina Chen, criticized the reforms, telling the LA Times, these measures ensure that the current membership of the HFPA will remain in the majority and that the next Golden Globes will be decided with the same fundamental problems that have existed for years. While some parts of the entertainment industry are slacking, pioneers like Barry Jenkins are transforming Hollywood. His new series, Underground Railroad, is premiering on Amazon Prime Video. The show is an adaptation from Colson Whitehead's novel, telling the story of a young enslaved girl played by Tuso Mbedu, who escapes a cotton plantation in Georgia.
The ones that run away and never return.
There is nothing here but suffering. Pain and suffering. It is time to go.
The series is sure to turn heads considering that Jenkins' earlier projects, Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk, are both award-winning films. In other news, the first posthumous DMX album called Exodus will be released on May 28th via Def Jam. This is the first DMX album since 2012. DMX, also known as Earl Simmons, died on April 9th this year at 50 years old. The partner producer of DMX, Swizz Beatz, produced the new album, saying, "This album, X couldn't wait for his fans all around the world to hear and show just how much he valued each and every single person that has supported him unconditionally." While many still mourn the loss of DMX, this record also signifies a great way to celebrate his life and career. And that is a wrap on this week's entertainment segment, and sadly, entertainment as a whole for the spring. I'm Nick Ratton for Chapman News. Back to you, Jasmine.
Coming up before our Chapman News seniors move on from college, we take a look back at our experiences. Chapman University means so much to our students, and as the semester is winding down, things are becoming bittersweet.
After 4 years of studying at Chapman University, Nick Ratton shares what it means to be a Panther. Take it away one last time, Nick.
Going to Chapman means getting your degree in paradise. It means writing an essay in Fantasyland, crying about a grade in Newport, fighting seasonal depression because it dropped below 70 degrees. It means acknowledging this privilege. Going to Chapman means living in a Panther-themed petri dish. It means getting Qdoba with the daughter of an actor, rooming with the son of a plumber, understanding that, for better or worse, degrees of separation do not exist here, because your roommate knows your TA, and your TA used to date that girl in your sorority, and that girl in your sorority went to high school with your best friend. Going to Chapman means Mondays in skit rehearsal and Wednesdays at Bruxy, Tuesdays at the taco stand, and Thursdays at the district lounge. It means birthday emails from Jerry Price, near-miss car accidents under Wilson Field, long walks through the piazza because you were hoping to see a friendly face. It means knowing the best water fountains are in Leatherby, the best bathrooms are in AF, and the best pizza is from, well, let's remain impartial. Going to Chapman means getting your heart broken. It means crying in the Dodge bathroom, the Henley Lounge, the Starbucks drive-thru, because your professor tore apart your thesis, because your best friend transferred schools, because you looked at photos from orientation week and remembered your life before the pandemic. Going to Chapman means being proud of your university, ashamed of your university, sick of your university. It means seesawing on this spectrum from 1 hour to the next, fighting for a school where students of color are listened to, where victims are believed, and where we hope professors make headlines for the right reasons. Going to Chapman means finding solace in its impermanence, understanding that your college experience will never be defined by the bricks in the Atala Piazza, but the Panthers who walked, or ran in their underwear, through it. Your version of Chapman is yours and yours alone, and while many of us are about to archive ours, going to Chapman can only lead to one thing: graduating from Chapman. For Chapman News, I'm Nick Grattan.
Both Jackie and I are seniors, and this will be our last Chapman News show.
It's been a great ride with my fellow Chapman Newsies. Here's a look back on our graduating seniors' time at Chapman News.
Oh, sorry, my finger was in it. Take two. Oh wait, my finger's over the microphone now. Okay, we're good.
It is a family at the end of the day, and I know that no matter what happens 10 years down the road, I could reach out to anybody in Chapman News and look for either advice or expertise or a job or just someone to hang out with and say hello to.
Having the confidence in myself through the EPs, through fellow classmates, that I actually can do this in real life. I can go on and work for a station if I want to.
My first few pieces that I did, because I had never done it before, sort of in this format, things went pretty smoothly, so that was pretty cool. Or doing the live stream I just did. That was never got to do an Instagram live stream before, and it was cool to sort of be in that environment and help people in the community kind of ask questions and learn stuff in real time. I think that was really awesome.
I've learned from Chapman News is the importance of communication and scheduling. A lot of things can happen all over the place all at once, and you have to make sure that you have a good schedule and you have a good system to deal with the new, ever-changing news cycle.
A piece of advice to anyone who's doing Chapman News next semester would be don't be afraid to try new things. That's why we're all in there, is to learn and to mess up and to have fun. And I know it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes when you're following someone in a position that's really solidified themselves, but don't be afraid to branch out and try new things. And that's how you find out what you like and what you don't, and that's the whole reason we're in there, is to figure out what we want to do after this.
Don't be afraid to reach out to people, because like I said, the worst thing that they'll say is no, but then it doesn't hurt if you reach out, and you'll never know what happens. I've reached out to people who I thought they would never respond, but they did, and I've been able to make packages that I thought I was never able to produce if I didn't even reach out to these people in the first place.
Your goal as a broadcast journalist is to tell stories of other people, and I think the whole time I've been there, whether it's been online or it's been in person, I've really had the opportunity to get into my community and talk to people and get to hear their stories and share their stories on a platform that's bigger than they would have had to give their stories, and so I think that's dope.
I've been a part of Chapman News for 3 semesters, and I think the best way to describe the Chapman News team is we're like a little family.
Chapman News and what we've learned in Chapman News is pretty much why I chose Chapman. When I came to visit, I saw the studio. I remember Dave, he was like, push any button you want on the TD board. And I was like, anything? And he's like, yeah, go for it. So I just started like scrambling it around. He presses one button and it's back, and he's like, see, that's just the kind of stuff we do here.
So if I'm going to miss anything the most about our staff, it's going to be those little 5-minute intervals where we would stop, we would take breaks during rehearsal, and we would just chat and we would get to know each other personally, which is really hard to do during a pandemic.
I think I'm really gonna miss trying new things. I think Chapman News gives you an opportunity to try your hand at everything and just see what works, see what doesn't. I anchored. Will be anchoring when this package airs. But anchoring is so outside of my comfort zone, and everyone at Chapman News was pushing me to do it a couple years ago, and I did it, and it was so much fun, but I would have never done it without the backing of people. And I think that trying new things and the people at Chapman News really go hand in hand in that everyone's pushing each other to do better, to try something new, and to just be the best version of themselves, both like in the real world and in journalism and everything.
From Chapman News, I'm Natalie Tasha Thompson.
I'm Nick Ryan.
I'm Michael Benefta.
I'm Ned Peterson.
I'm Brennan Corgan.
I'm Melissa Cho.
I'm Erin Coogan.
I'm Lindsay Arabian.
I'm Sienna Platt.
I'm Jasmine Sani.
From Chapman News, I'm Jackie Gold. Wow, that was so beautiful. A big thank you to AJ Keenan for editing that for us. It has been a true pleasure delivering the news to all of you at home.
And we're sending our best of luck to all future Chapman News students. This truly has become a family.
If you want to keep up with Chapman News over the summer, follow us on social media at Chapman News and subscribe to our YouTube channel at chapmannews.tv.
I'm Jasmine Sani.
And I'm Jackie Gold. Thank you for watching Chapman News.